very warm welcome to Brand Equity with me, Soanlikrishna. The last 45 days have been tragic for all of us personally, but also for business at large. India's advertising expenditure took a severe hit in 2020 because of the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the overall base shrank by more than 15%. 2021 was expected to be the year of recovery. It was estimated that ad spends would grow by 23% and the ADEX would grow to about 80,000 crore rupees. Well, those numbers stand null and void given the situation the country is in. Today, I'm joined by some of the top advertising minds to talk about the state of the advertising industry, the advertiser sentiment, impact of the second wave on creativity, and of course, I'm going to try and understand what the next 6 months has in store for the agency world and business. So without further ado, let me introduce to you my panel. Agnello Dias, Creative Chairman, Dentsu Aegis Network; Kunal Jeswani, Chief Executive Officer, Ogilvy; RohitOhri, Chairman and CEO, FCB Ulka; Bobby Pawar, Chairman and Chief Creative Officer, Havas Group; and Ameer Jaleel, Group Chief Creative Officer and Chairman, Mullen Law Lintas. Thank you so much, gentlemen, and welcome to the show. Before I start, some rules. A couple of words are banned, one being unprecedented, and two being resilient. The third one is a bit more complex. No usage of optimism without data. And with that, I am ready to begin my discussion. I'm going to shoot my first question to you, Aggie. It's a simple question. How's business?
Business is not good. So I think it's now pessimistic because what was expected as the bounce back and people gearing up and pulling up their socks for an expected bounce back because the stock market had started indicating it, has now turned around for the worse. And now even if there is an actual bounce back, people are not sure whether to trust it. So it's a bit of a numb kind of nimbus freeze for everybody. Nobody knows whether they should be brave or they should be careful, and therefore it's in no man's land. It's a bit of a limbo kind of situation.
Sure. Kunal, let me take it to you. We saw a difficult year in 2020, and 2021 seems to be even more difficult and dark. How has business for the agency world really been like if you juxtapose 2020 versus 2021? And what, in your opinion, is the dilemma that advertisers and, of course, agencies are going through at the moment? Because it's really the existential question: should I advertise or not?
Yeah. Okay. So let me respond to the first question. Right? How's business between 2020 and 2021? 2020 was a really shit year, right? So it's the outlook for 2021 started out significantly better than 2020 because you were starting from a really rubbish base, right? And through 2020, clients struggled for a few months as well. And a lot of client conversations with us were, hey, we're going through a tough time. Support us in this tough time. Let's figure out a way for all of us to work together on fees and hold hands, and we'll come through this together, right? And we did that, and the result of that was most agencies took a hit by the end of the year. But when we closed books at the end of the year and you started looking at reports from most clients, they seem to have grown and done better on revenue and profit in the whole year, right? Than they did in previous years. Now, I'm not talking about clients who are hugely retail dependent, but most of our large clients did reasonably well. Right? So we went into 2021 fairly aggressively. We've had a very good Jan, Feb, March. After that, it's been rubbish, right? Because the last 45 days have been hell for everybody. Not just from a business perspective, but from a people perspective, all of that, right? So I don't know where it's going to go from here. All I know is that we had a good first 3 months and really rubbish a couple of months after that. Right? So let's see where it goes from here then.
Sure. Ameer, you want to add to that?
In terms of what Kunal just said, we reflected exactly almost what he just said in terms of business. That the end of the year was super good. We looked at going out and adding numbers, in fact, to the agency and to client portfolio and things like that. And all of that came sort of tumbling down for us in somewhere in April and in May. So all of that has now become what do we do from here? So the plan for the next 6 months is going to be really tough, is what I feel. And it's not just about the numbers. I think sentiment has taken a huge hit. And it's our job to sort of, think about sentiment and worry from sentiment onwards what's going to happen. So, because this has come so close to us, all of us know that nobody is not hit by something or the other, with this corona. And I think that what that is doing to us is that it's, the economically higher groups that have got hit now. They are the ones that are dictating the sentiment this time, because last year a lot was happening, and a lot of people were affected, but they were the sort of economically lower classes that were getting affected. This time, the economically very high classes have got hit, and because of that, I feel that the effect on consumer sentiment is going to be higher. You don't feel like indulging, right? When everything is so shit around you, right? How will you indulge? How will you take a car? How will you buy, new clothes, new shoes? What will you do? So you don't feel like indulging. You don't feel like splurging, and we as consumers know that this is happening out in the world, and therefore we know what is going to happen in marketing, and therefore we know what's going to happen in advertising. So everything rules from consumer heads.
Let me take that point forward. And, Rohit, I'm sure you're dealing with a lot of clients. And as, an agency chief, what's your sense of what they're thinking? I mean, brands need to advertise, but they're all in pause mode. If at all they have to advertise, what is the tone and tenor? Given that the situation is so grim, only, essentials are currently being delivered. We don't know when the end game is. We know that in some parts there will be an ease of lockdown, but all of it, there's a third wave possibility. So since everything is up in the air, what are brands doing?
Sonali, these are quite unprecedented times. Oh, sorry.
You're not supposed to use that word.
No, so, what I'm seeing is, and just to echo, what Kunal and Ameer have already said, I think the fundamental issue was that, everybody thought that the worst was behind us, right? So Jan, Feb, March, like for everybody was a really good time. We found some categories coming back very aggressively. The two-wheelers, four-wheelers, those categories came back really aggressively, and they saw a lot of growth. Home and home equipment, white goods, all that was, seeing some of the best years. Some FMCG brands saw the best years ever in 2020, right? So there was obviously a lot of positive feeling that, we'll kind of bridge through this. Obviously, the second wave has, brought everything to a halt, and somewhere everybody's worried now about the third wave, saying that, will we really have a great festive season? If hypothetically IPL was to come back in the Q4, would that be, once again we'd have the IPL and the festive season collapse? Usually, they're on two separate islands in the year, and they kind of get focused ad spends. Now, if you put both of the big properties in the same part of the year, then obviously, there's an overlap, and advertising spends kind of come down. As far as to specifically answer your question, what are clients doing? What I've seen across most of our clients, actually, they're seriously thinking about the second half of the year, saying that, we have to figure out a way to get back, the market, the sales, so there's a fair degree of thinking and strategizing about it. What will actually happen, I don't know, and nobody knows really, quite honestly. But the fact is that we're still holding, what we are seeing is Mumbai is coming out of the issues. We had almost 40-50% of our workforce in Mumbai affected. Now we have zero, right? So obviously things are better in Mumbai. Things are getting better in Gurgaon as well. So and Delhi. So Bangalore is still struggling, but overall, I think we may be able to get out of this phase faster than we thought we would, and hopefully, if the vaccination drive is aggressive, I think we could see. I know those are big issues really, but I feel that clients are definitely looking at the second half of the year, saying that we can't wash out another year really. So I think they're strategizing and thinking about it. Obviously, a lot will depend on what happens, right? So how quickly we come out of this, what happens, the lockdowns unlock, and there's no third wave, hopefully. So fingers crossed.
Bobby, left the last for you. I mean, just to respond to what Rohit said, I mean, of course, he has a tinge of optimism in him, but as a citizen and definitely as somebody as an observer of this country, I feel only despair. Getting vaccinated is like a game show I have to play every night to see if I'm going to get a slot.
Yeah.
So I don't feel any optimism really, but if you do, or you have a different view, please go for it. And I'm also curious to know, as a creative person, what alternate thoughts and ideas can you have to, let us say, even advertise in a situation like this? It must be really, really tough.
I mean, it's a completely different reality, right? But let me use an analogy, right? Last year was like a boxing match, right? You're marketing as a boxer, and there are 12 rounds in a boxing match. End of the year, the 12 rounds got over. We thought, it's done, man. We've survived this. And then the bell rings again, and there's a 13th round, right? And there's a bigger, stronger guy in front of you. And you're not freaking prepared to deal with that, right? All the marketers, everybody we knew, even advertising agencies, had highly optimistic projections. And this comes out of nowhere, the same thing that you thought had got past, and blindsides you again. The first thing you do as a boxer is step back and you try to reorient yourself to this new attack, right? And that's kind of what's happening. Right now, nobody knows what the hell to do, right? Yesterday's guidelines are also not as this thing, because today's reality is much harsher, right? Just about everybody knows, because when it's reported that about 4,000 people are dying a day, and well, just about everybody says the number is much greater, and you hear about crematoriums overflowing, people fighting for same spots in the ground. The biggest thing you have is uncertainty, right? You think anything can happen to anybody. It doesn't matter who you are. At moments of uncertainty, right? What do people do? They curl up, right? They withdraw into their shell, and that's kind of what's happening. And everybody's scared, right? Last year, the poor people were scared, like Rohit pointed out. And Ameer pointed out, now everybody is scared, right? And we've got to figure out, and there doesn't seem to be like a way forward from this, right? A cohesive way forward from this. And as far as the work goes, I think you just have to be sensitive to the times, right? Shit that was funny some time back ain't funny no more, right? And it just, because of what people are going through, you just have to be overly sensitive to what this country is going through in how you communicate.
Which is really the dilemma, right, Aggie? I mean, you have to be overtly sensitive. Consumer sentiment is down, but you also need to push the demand going forward, because only then, business will come back, the economy will somewhat survive. It's a tough place, which is why I'm asking, what are you telling your clients, and what are clients telling you? And what are you looking, even if, let's say, they want to advertise, how do you advertise? Because we're also living in a world of social media that you do anything that doesn't seem to fit well and you're abused and trashed and you have to retract.
I think for the marketing advertising kind of section of business, if there's anything that's really tough to deal with, it's not the pandemic, it's unpredictability. You really don't know the finiteness of it. So if they say there's a vaccine, you don't know whether the vaccine will work. People who have taken vaccine have succumbed. They say there are enough vaccines, there are not enough vaccines. Somebody says the peak has passed, the peak just comes up. So it's the unpredictability of everything that's made everybody sit back and say, let's just do nothing, because there's nothing you can, not even one of these 10 or 12 boxes can you tick with any amount of certainty. In terms of creativity in communication, every time you write a script that is emotion based, unless it's sentiment, but if it's a funny script or say a joyous script or a happy script or a kind of boisterous, fun-loving script, you really think 10 times about whether yourself, you will cringe watching it on TV if somebody else did it. So it then gets pared down to the basic functionality of the product. Okay, look, I'm not trying to act smart here. I'm not trying to do anything funny. I'm just telling you that, please, I have this product, please buy it. So it just pared down to just brief going out on celluloid, because everything else seems in bad taste or could seem in bad taste. And over and above that, we have the other issues, which are not even the pandemic, about what's going on in our country with regards to social media, with regards to regulations and authorities. So it's a whole basket of chaos. It almost feels like if there is a God right now, then God must be dyslexic, because everything is going.
Oh, absolutely. No, just to add to what Aggie was saying, right? I have a personal story. This morning I went to see my dog, right? I haven't seen him for months. So he told me he and his wife, who's also a dog, they had 2 shots of the vaccine, right? About 4 weeks back, they got COVID. And I've got 2 shots. And I was like, dude, if a dog can get in, man, who the hell am I, right? And that's a younger guy, way fitter guy. So that's the uncertainty that people are dealing with. And the rumors are rife, right? The other thing is also that's happening, and this thing that the markets are going to soften, right? Foreign investment and all that. When you hear about the kind of carnage that's going on, right? I'm sure all of us have had calls from global people saying like, how bad is it, right? Is it worse than this thing? Because on BBC, you have reports of people using cow dung and cow paste to smear themselves, thinking COVID will be this. So it's chaos, right? And chaos, I mean, business does not do well in chaos. Unless you're an arms dealer, then maybe that's a different thing.
Yeah, and let's not forget that a lot will have to be done to undo the damage caused to the country's international image.
Yeah.
Because right now we've gone from these swanky computer software creating nation back to about 20 years saying snake charmers, elephants, and now cow dung.
Third world. Back to third world.
No, I mean, more than that. I've had colleagues from Bangladesh reaching out saying, there is anything that we can do to help you.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
So the thing is that it's shocking, and Sonali, one of the things that we are doing this next week is globally FCBs coming together to contribute and help, our junior staff, people who had to pay, enormous amounts of money, which, for oxygen cylinders or for medicines, which are not covered by insurance, right? So we are helping out everybody, saying that, there is, of course, being a global company, you have to have you have to have some kind of paperwork, but, how do you explain that you paid 1.5 lakhs for an oxygen cylinder, right? So that's something that the world is actually coming together to contribute to India, and you feel really like a third world country, that it's a refugee kind of rescue, so it's terrible. I mean, it's humiliating in many ways as well.
Absolutely. Kunal, since we're having such a candid discussion, would it be right for us to assume that that 2021 has to be written off as a gloom and doom year for the agency business per se, because of the fact that things are so unpredictable, things are so grim, and there doesn't seem to be an end game to this?
No, I don't think so. Every client I talk to has the money to spend. They want to spend it. They aggressively want to get back in the market and sell stuff. Right? They just need the right moment and the right opportunity to do it. Right? Even now, money is being deployed. It's being deployed across digital platforms and touchpoints far more than it used to be, right? Some media will take a hit, some media will grow, right? Exactly the way we saw last year. I still think there is a lot of hope in 2021, right? That's my view. And I'll tell you why, because, everything everyone's spoken about so far, right? Which is our international image as a country, the issues we're facing, in terms of our people, our own, health, the issues with clients. I think everybody wants to hit back and hit back very, very hard, right? And when I say hit back, everybody wants to succeed, right? They want to push back and do better. Clients, us, everybody's dying to get back into offices. That may not happen for a while, right? But that spirit is there, right?
That's mostly because we're repressed. I mean, we've been repressed since last year.
Even in the last 45 days, of course, we saw it in Jan, Feb, March, where people were working really hard because they wanted to show, really great work, right? I'll give you an example. I'm not seeing a drop in the quality of work in 2020 or 2021. We're doing great work, right? I don't think that's suffering at all. I think that's coming.
I'll disagree with you on that. I think the work suffered a lot.
Fair enough, right? I just feel that I think people are struggling so much in other parts of their lives that this is one place where they want to succeed, right? Where they want to see hope. And I'm not going to deny them that, right? So I'm going to push as hard as I can for the rest of the year, to do as well as we can, and I think clients are ready to back us, and I think people are ready to back us, which is more important, right? Our own people. So I'm not writing it off. No.
Fair enough. That's fine. But I appreciate the sentiment that everybody wants to do well. My question really is, realistically speaking, how is the year looking, for the industry 2021? Is it going to be a write-off? Is it going to be worse than 2020? We did pretty badly last year.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like I said, impossible to tell right now. We had a really good Jan, Feb, March, right? So that's going to drive us, to me, into the first half. We've struggled over the last 45 days. I know it's going to be a struggle for the next 45 as well, right? I think there is room to recover.
I think, Sonali, all the way forward, right? The path forward depends on what happens next, right? You need signs that give you hope. You need good news, right? For example, what's the monsoon going to be like? If we have a good monsoon, that gives people hope, right? And those things like that. Then what are the industries that are still surviving and they start to look up, right? There needs to be hope, signs of that, signs of good news, vaccines that are working, all of those things, right? So over the next 45 days or whatever, couple of months, we see, okay, we've installed so many oxygen generators, or the Maharashtra government setting up 3,000 tons a day of manufacturing. All those things are going to help, right? If in the absence of that, then it's going to be doom and gloom. But like there's certain segments of our business, like for example, large scale events and activation, that's gone for the year.
Sure.
Pretty much, right? Till maybe the last 3 months of the year, whatever.
I'll tell you one difference, Sonali, that I feel from the last wave to this wave, and that's purely, maybe personal, but I think a lot of us felt it. Okay, see, when this hugely tragic event hit us, right? There was devastation. There was a lot of tragedy. All of those things happened, but at the same time, what happened to professionals like us, all of us felt that the world order is changing. There's something new that's going to happen in the world because of this. Behavior is going to change. Consumers are going to change. A lot of things are changing in the world, right? And as professionals, that excited us, right? It was a huge amount of excitement. How is industry going to change? How is industry going to take the challenge? How are consumers going to adapt? How are students going to adapt? All of this became very exciting as a challenge. And many of us took this as a great challenge, and we really put ourselves into it. And that really took us to the end of the year. It took us to the beginning of this year. And I think marketing people, I think industry people, I think, leaders of the country, all of all of us attacked this. Media people, all of us attacked this in this way, right? And after the second wave, what has happened is, how the hell do we deal with it? The first thing was excitement, of course, tragedy, of course, dealing with it and all of that. But how are we going to deal? How this is exciting. How do we do things? Now what has happened is, we dealt with it. There were things that we did right and we came out of it. And now there is something else that's happening, which suddenly we don't know how to deal with. Because somewhere we are exhausted. We exhausted what we wanted to do. The excitement got exhausted. So, while Kunal can say that the work and the standard of work, we'll always pour ourselves into it. But there was a difference in the world of understanding consumers, in the world of dealing with things, that was different in the first wave. And I don't see that in the second wave. So for me, that's a very big difference.
I'm just going back to what Kunal was saying. I do not know whether the behavior of clients and our people and consumers to bounce back now will be exactly the same as it was after the first wave. Because when it was, it's a case of once bitten, twice shy. We saw what happened, right? So right now, everybody seems to be feeling, oh, the peak is over and we'll all just get back to work. But now nobody knows because of what happened the last time. Yeah. And the peak is not over till the lockdown is lifted. Will there be no cases after the lockdown is lifted? Right now.
And what about black fungus, yellow fungus,
right now,
white
saying
fungus?
Cases are going down in Gurgaon and going down in Bombay mean nothing because nobody's getting out of their house. Cases should not go up after everybody gets out of their house. That is the beginning of the economy, right? And last time it was the same. It had gone down and it was nothing and nobody got out of the house. If the moment you opened the trains, there it came back. So these numbers going down mean nothing till they stay at this level, or around that level, or lower than this level. Once everybody gets out and the trains start, then you can say probably there is some light at the end of the tunnel. But right now, I'm sure everybody is smart enough to say that, last time we all got ready for this great bounce back and we did better than and let me say the year 2020 and 2021 were better because now we've completely forgotten about it. But before the pandemic itself, that year was a recessionary year. Everybody did badly. It was a recession year anyway.
Yeah.
So once we all got ready for this bounce back, then this is what happened. There may not be an equivalent bounce back now because you don't know whether it's over. You don't know whether there's a third wave. So why will you just go out and do exactly what you did after the first wave? So
also scared to spend.
Big test will come after the lockdown is lifted.
See, brands, marketers are going to spend if the people spend.
Because there's no demand.
Simple.
The key is demand. There's no demand.
Also, it's just joke, but so in terms of uncertainty, you don't want to invest in things because you don't know, you might need this thing. I haven't had a haircut in like 4 months. So
you saved a lot of money.
Right? But that's kind of what happens, right? Also, I think Aggie made a great point, right? Even now, the Mumbai numbers are maybe twice of what they were at last year's peak, and they've come down, right? So it's crazy. The kind of numbers we're seeing this year are way higher. And there's uncertainty because you don't know, once everybody starts going out and behaving like morons, it could come back all the way back again. We have no idea.
So, which is why I'm asking my last two questions. One is, when you're talking about producing work, agency work, creative work, given that all of us personally are also impacted and pretty down and out and fatigued, how is it that this environment can create good work? How can creative people be motivated to do good work? And what is the canvas really that they can paint on because of the current environment? Is the work suffering and to what level?
I think there are two parts to it, right? Yes, the work is suffering. Before that, the creative people are suffering, right? The couple of things that drive creative people. One's the inner drive to do great stuff, to push yourself beyond this thing. The other is being in an environment that pushes you, right? Where you bounce off ideas. There's this thing you like free wheel of the thoughts that other people have. And then when you're feeling like suboptimal, somebody else picks you up. That entire system is not there, right? The Zoom call can't approximate if somebody's slapping you in the back or, going down for a chai and a smoke and just shooting the shit. That doesn't happen. So the only thing that's left is the inner fire. The other thing is also the environment is now so sensitive. To push and do brave work, it's harder. Also, executionally, you're far more limited. So, right, you can't go out and shoot much, right? Those things are also scale. All of those things are this thing. And people are being cautious with their budgets and stuff like that, right? And so many subjects are becoming taboo, or the tones are becoming like dicey to touch upon. That's my 2 bits. Yeah.
No, that's right. I was just watching a Pepsi commercial yesterday, where obviously this commercial was shot earlier, and the fact is that it says, kahan se mila Pepsi se dukaan se, and say, which dukaan are you going to now? So the fact is that, the whole thing of being tone sensitive, understanding, what is okay and what is not okay, where do you connect and where do you disconnect, because now, disconnecting is easier than connecting, so because connecting, the points are very, very hard to find, so those are big issues, I think.
If you take a look at the work that's probably been entered, last year's work that's been entered at Cannes, it'd be like it'd be amongst the worst work in the last 10 years, right? The overall standard, right? Couldn't be helped.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think, I also think, what is good work? That access has to change, right? At this point in time, we cannot be discussing, whether we've taken creativity to the next level and stuff like that, right? It's the time to actually be partners with your brands, be partners with your clients. What is their requirement right now? I think a lot of them will look for help, maybe not in brand building immediately. Maybe they'll look at immediately how to shore up revenues. What are the ideas to shore up revenues? Because if we contribute as an industry into that, we will be contributing to the country by doing that. So good work, we have to change the definition, what good work means. Yes, we have to, we have our standards, and all agencies have their own standards of what they consider good work in terms of creativity, in terms of, standing out, differentiating and things like that. But the need of the hour today, I think, is to help your clients, to help your brands stand up and stay there, till this wave is over or till the next wave is over. So I think that's what good work means to us.
My last question is, how is the agency health?
Look, we've had a very, very tough 2 months in terms of health of, and when I'm saying health, I'm saying literally, right? Actually,
literally.
Health of human beings. People in the company, their extended families, right? Because I'll just bring it back to the health of the company as well.
Yeah, sure.
But I think, it's been really tough. Right? We've lost people. Much more than that, people have lost family members, right? And it's been a struggle over 2 months, right? But I think culturally, one of my biggest concerns when we first went into lockdown last year, and none of us have gone back into office, right, from the first lockdown, right? Office has been shut completely for over a year, right? And one of my biggest concerns was that culturally we'll suffer, right? Everything Bobby was talking about, right? Which is just meeting people, talking, brainstorming together. And I still worry about that, right? But I think people have come together very, very strongly for each other, right? Both from a work perspective as well as from a personal perspective, right? The degree to which people have helped each other, and I'm talking about our own people, right? Is far more than anything the company has done, far more, right? And help them personally as well as help them at work. I just think from a culture perspective, from a people to people connection perspective, we're stronger now than we were before the lockdown last year, significantly stronger. Health of the company financially, it's okay. We're still profitable. We're still doing well. It depends on how long we have to stay locked up, how long, spend suffer, how much client sales get hit, and how much they come back to us and ask for cuts further, right? And that's to be seen. right? But today we're okay.
Sonali,
Right.
agency health is good. Okay.
Is that actually true across the board if I
wait.
look at it as an
Yeah,
industry?
yeah. I'm making a point.
Yeah.
Sonali.
Okay.
See,
Okay.
look, agency health is good. Why? Because we're a deep and strong agency. Okay, many of us here represent big networks, deep networks, strong networks with very good clients, and so that way I think agency health is good. Industry health, I feel, is getting poor, and I think that's the point, because the number of people that I hear, reaching out today, who have lost jobs, who are in fear of losing their jobs. Many small agencies, many small outfits, many medium-sized outfits are in trouble. They're losing people. They have to lose people. Their revenues are down. And one of the great ways of looking at industry health is that, yes, the big 10 do very well, and the big agencies do very well. But what about the medium-sized outfits, the small-sized outfits? You say an industry is doing good when everybody is doing good. And I fear that, the smaller sort of outfits are not really doing very well. So I would say, if there's some action needed, it's needed at the industry level. Industry health, I think, is going to suffer at the end of this.
No,
Okay.
I quite agree with what Ameer is saying. I think one of the big initiatives that we are looking at 3 Years of I is really to figure out if there's a way that we can help people from the industry who've lost their jobs find projects or freelance assignments, to see them over this period of stress that they're having, and we're seeing that, right? We're seeing that I mean, it's not a hypothetical thing. I mean, we are seeing it at the 3 Years of I. We have members in distress, right? So many of the smaller agencies are suffering. So there are big issues if you look at it from an overall industry standpoint. I think I second what Ameer is saying completely.
My pointed question to rest Aggie and Bobby would be that, do you think this is only limited to mid-sized and small agencies? I think large agencies are suffering too. And the fact of the matter is, beyond a point, they'll have to also cut costs and make themselves sail through in a more, because there will be pressures from global operations and all of that. So I don't think the agency health, whether it is cut it anyway, top, medium or bottom, is healthy at the moment. Aggie?
See, suffering is a relative term, right?
Sure.
Because if I mean, just to use a cricket analogy, if you were scoring 6s and 4s and a good run rate, you have a middle order batting collapse. You just bat for singles till things get better and you're closer to out of the woods, and then you start playing that again. So right now, if you're asking what should agencies do to hit 6s and 4s, they should not hit 6s and 4s. They should
No,
only
I'm not asking that question.
So,
I'm just asking, how is the health?
I think most larger agencies, at least as far as I know, to a certain extent have managed their past and their present well enough so that they are not in what you call serious crisis of health. The smaller agencies, the really small ones, I don't think they are doing badly either, because they were anyway, just about starting out. So there are more and more value which is going to them. It's the mid-level agencies that will probably find themselves in a spot of bother. And I say spot of bother deliberately because I don't think, I think the power of creative people is that they can, give off their own and live with it a little longer than most other industries. So to answer your question, yeah, it's an average. It's not as good as it was, but I don't think they're suffering. Like, it's not an industry in the doldrums like the hospitality industry or the hotel industry. It's not like that.
Okay, Bobby?
I guess everybody's answer about the health of the agency, right? It is what it is. It's been so good so far, and we'll see how it goes, right? The thing I want to really talk about is mental health. Yeah? What happened is that over the period, this right, there's been all kinds of mental health pressures on people working from home, right? The relationships are frayed, right? And divorce rates in many countries have gone up, right? Because one of the important things in a relationship is distance, right? When you came to office, you had distance from your family. When you went home, you had distance from your office colleagues, right? That's gone. That is completely gone. The pressures have gone up. I know just about everybody is working at least 12 hours a day. And I seriously worry about what they, and in this country, it is taboo to talk about, oh, you are weak if you talk about your mental health problems. So I think all this is building up. And if we don't, we're taking steps to help people with it. But it's hard because nobody wants to acknowledge it, right? And especially guys, because, you're not a man if you can't deal with that shit, right? So
Absolutely.
that's the scariest thing to me, right? Businesses will recover. The weak ones won't. My fear is, will people recover? Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, point noted. And thank you so much, all of you, for your candid speak. Hoping for better times, happier times, and hoping we can do discussions like this in person and not on Zoom, because it definitely kills some joy in the discussion process. But thank you so much once again. Stay
Thank you.
safe, stay well.
Thank you.